It was after a round of golf, and I basically just completely locked up back spasms, and I was able to get through that conservatively. It kind of slowly progressed over 6 weeks or so with some PT. So that wasn't. I didn't really get the sciatic pain at first, and then I had a couple flare ups. Basically, it was like every fall I'd be going through this, and then this past October of 2023 was where it started to really go downhill.
Welcome to Bed, Back, and Beyond, sharing positive stories of recovery from serious back or neck injury. Your host is CK, a fellow champion who draws on her own experience with herniated disc surgery. Join her as she talks with others who have overcome the physical and emotional trauma of a painful injury, and discover for yourself how you can find hope and encouragement in recovery.
Hi, Matt. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Bed, Back, and Beyond. Before we dive into your injury, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name's Matt. I'm 34. I live in New Jersey. I'm a very, very active person. That's kind of what it stemmed from, what my injury stemmed from. I'm very, very big into mountain biking, all things cycling. I was a big golfer before the injury, played baseball growing up. So it was just a lot of things. Married, no kids. Yeah, work in IT. So I sit a lot of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Which can be
When did you start to notice an issue with your back?
So the initial injury was back in 2021. It was after a round of golf, and I basically just completely locked up back spasms, and I was able to get through that conservatively. It kind of slowly progressed over 6 weeks or so with some PT. So that wasn't. I didn't really get the sciatic pain at first, and then I had a couple flare ups. Basically, it was like every fall I'd be going through this, and then this past October of 2023 was where it started to really go downhill.
Okay. For me, even as a teenager, I would throw my back out, felt like every other year. And my
Yeah,
parents and my sisters the same. So my back started to act up in April, and it just felt like the normal, oh, I threw my back out.
yeah,
But it just didn't get better. Usually that clears
right.
up within 3 weeks, and
Yeah,
then it
yeah.
lasted.
That's kind of the
Yeah.
way I ended up. Yeah. Usually sciatic pain wasn't a part of mine either,
Right.
which was a new symptom that I was like, that's not great.
Right. So you got some back pain when you were golfing. When
hmm
did the sciatic pain start to move in?
So that was after I, not so wisely as my wife would put it, went on a mountain biking trip. I
Mhm.
came back and I was pushing through it. And on the bike, I never really got much pain, which is like a good thing.
Mhm.
But when I got back, it was clearly like I had a lot of pelvic tilt, so I was very clearly over to the
Leaning to
left.
one side?
Yeah, and
Okay.
my initial PT misdiagnosed that a little bit as actual pelvic tilt, but once I got my surgery, I was walking upright that day. So
Right, right.
um, yeah, it was about November. November, I was feeling a little bit better, and then December, I took one ride, got back, and I knew something was very off. I couldn't really, I couldn't really walk at that point. I was, bedridden.
What kind of symptoms were you having in November?
So November was kind of the typical back pain, just a lot of stiffness. I was still able to go about my life. Sitting was a little uncomfortable. I was kind of always cognizant of that. And then, yeah, the sciatic pain, once that came, that was when I started getting foot drop. I started getting, yeah, really bad tilt. And I switched PTs at that point because that was where I was like, I don't think the first PT was really working for me. They were focused on the pelvic tilt instead of the herniation. So,
Oh, okay. And so did the new PT say, "Hey, this might be a herniation?"
yeah, I did
Okay.
end up going. I'm lucky. I have a McGill master clinician about 20 minutes from me. So I was
Okay.
willing to pay out of pocket. I was like, you know what, I got to get this fixed. And he wasn't particularly surprised when I came back. I had like a follow up with my ortho about 3 weeks after I started with him, and he wasn't too surprised. Where I was like, yeah, they're saying surgery is the best route, and he was like, yeah, I tend to
Okay.
agree. So it was,
When did you decide to see the ortho?
so I started that in 2021,
Mhm.
and then I don't think I went the couple flare ups, but this past in 2023 was when I went back to him. So I went back to him in the fall, and then had a follow up in December, and that's when he saw the foot drop, he saw the limping, the weakness in the foot, and that's when he said, "Okay, you need to go see a surgeon today." And I was like,
Okay.
"Oh, today, yeah." So he called up, hit the surgeon that he referred, and I was in that day.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah,
did they consider that emergency surgery?
it was an emergency. Now they, since I didn't have any
The red flag symptoms?
yeah,
Yeah.
no red flag symptoms, but they said basically the longer you wait, the more likely this is going to be a permanent issue,
Mhm.
and you might not get that strength back, and you might not walk with a full gait anymore. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound like something I want to be involved in.
So how did you feel? It feels like the choice of whether or not to get surgery was kinda taken away from you, or were you like, "That's great, let's just do it."
Yeah, I think I did go through the kind of you see it all the time where people, everyone tries to avoid surgery. Of course, no one wants to go through that, but so I had the first opinion from the ortho, then the surgeon, and then I saw a second surgeon, and they all kind of said the exact same thing. So I was like, okay, I think three opinions is enough that this is the right thing to do for me because I wasn't getting better.
Right, I was just about to say, especially with months of physical therapy not
Yeah,
improving.
yeah, I couldn't even I was trying all the McGill methods. I was doing the big three as best I could. I was going on walks, but I could only manage maybe 10 minutes before I was heading back, just in pain. Just like
Mhm.
this isn't great for me.
Were you in and out on the day of surgery, or did you have to spend the night?
I was, yeah. The surgery I think was at 10 a.m. and I was home by about 3.
Okay. How
It
was
was
your
pretty good.
surgical pain?
Pretty minimal. The day after I was pretty sore, just like very stiff. Then like the following like 3 or 4 days I was pretty stiff, but other than that, like the like incision was sore, but I had a very easy recovery, not
Okay.
thankfully. Yeah.
Yeah. What are you about you're about 7 months out, is that correct?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh,
February 5th was my surgery.
okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
went back to the Reddit just to say, okay,
Yeah.
which because I've
Yeah.
users sign up on Reddit and nobody tells me their name. So then I'm
Right.
like,
Right. Yeah.
who am I talking to today?"
Yeah.
Okay, and, so you're 7 months out, you just said that recovery was easy. Did you have any moments of, "Oh my gosh, I think I re-herniated," or
I think everyone does. I don't think that's yeah. But it was like I read probably every thread that was posted on that subreddit for a solid month. Like I was reading every single story, and it seemed like give it a day or two, see how it goes, and then any kind of flare ups that I had were luckily just very very minor, mostly muscular, and I was up. Well, I think I hit 10,000 steps like 5 or 6 days post op. So I felt good almost right away. It was amazing.
awesome. Any particular tools that you had that you found, helpful during your recovery?
Yeah, yeah. So I did prep a bidet before. I didn't end up using it. I was lucky with that. The sock helper was great. Once I did start going on walks outside, I had like 3 grabbers, I think, all throughout the house. They were just strewn about, so whenever I had to pick something up, and then like a sponge on a stick for showering was very helpful.
Yeah, I think there's a surgery kit for hip surgery
Yes,
that comes with those.
that's exactly what I got, and I didn't really use the dress helper
Right.
dresser. Yeah, that I didn't find that necessary, but other than
Mhm.
that, yeah, I was very very militant about not bending, lifting, twisting. Like
What did they tell you 6 weeks, or did they say a different?
they they were my surgeon was almost like a little too lax to where like I went above and beyond his recommendations. He basically said no bending, lifting, twisting until the first follow up, which was 2 weeks out, and then at the 2 week post op, he said like you're good, you don't have to come back. And I was like, can I come back? Can I? So I kind of pushed for the 6 week. Like I want you to tell me like I can do this, I can do this. I just want your blessing. Uh, so yeah, I followed the 6 weeks, and I still kind of don't bend, lift, twist as best I can. At least bending. I am back in the gym, so I'm doing some lifting, but twisting like I haven't returned to golf, and I'm not sure I ever will.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I am 5 years out, and I still
Mhm.
roll in and out of bed.
Yeah. Oh,
I
absolutely.
think
Yeah,
I
that's
think that's just from now on.
now it's a habit. That's the way I get in and out. Yeah,
Yeah.
very
So
cognizant.
were you prescribed physical therapy for after your surgery?
Another one of those things. My surgeon said you don't need it, but I said I want it. I want to go see the cert. I want to go see. I want to go see a physical therapist I trust, and I did a different one. It wasn't the McGill this time because I found someone that was a little closer, which was nice, but same, very one on one. I was working with a doctor of physical therapy the whole time. It was the same person. They were very. So I started 4 weeks post op, which was a little early. I got a little pushback on that, but my PT was very gentle the first 2 weeks. It was mostly just like very preliminary, making sure the incision was good and all that. And so I went from week 4 to week 10, I believe.
And and how did you do with being such an active person with being restricted for so many weeks?
Yeah, it was an adjustment. I think I walked more in that first month than I did the year before. It was just like walking was my new job. I was every day I had like an alarm set for every hour. At first, I was getting up, just doing some laps in the living room, and then once I was able to go walk outside, I was going on 2, 3 walks a day, which was yeah. I was at least able to because I did put on some weight. I did put on about I think 25 pounds in like the 4 or 5 months I was inactive. So
Yes, Dairy Queen was my emotional support while I was
absolutely.
recovering.
Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
put some weight on
Lots
too.
of ice cream.
Yes. Oh, and when were you able to return to work?
So I took 2 weeks completely off, and then I did 2 weeks from home, and then 4 weeks I was back in the office, and they were very under my work was very understanding, and I do thankfully have a sit stand desk,
Okay.
and to this day I still alternate 1 hour up, 1 hour down.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that was very key. Sorry, I don't do a ton of lifting at work either, so that was obviously very easy to make
Mhm.
the accommodations for me when I returned.
I have a job where I have to stand most of the time, and before the injury, I would be bent over,
Uh,
at a desk, and
yeah,
then, since then, I have I've raised my desk, and haven't changed that. I'll be having a raised desk for the rest of my life, I think.
absolutely. Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Keeps you active. I like the standing desk more than I did.
definitely. And what, activities have you gotten back to since your surgery?
So I'm back on all forms of bikes. I'm back on mountain biking, which was my long-term goal, which I would kind of put myself in the fall. I said, by the fall, if I was back on my mountain bike, I'm over the moon. But I think early July, I started, and I've had very little issue with even with the repetitive hits that you kind of get to the spine. But
Mhm.
it's been, I've dialed it back a little bit. I'll say
Okay,
that. Yeah,
okay.
not quite the same level.
I think you probably saw it, but we had somebody in the forum who hit a bump on a car ride and
Yeah,
was
right.
convinced that they reherniated,
Yep.
and came back to say, "No, I didn't reherniate it."
Yeah.
So, here you are on a mountain bike, just bumping all over the place.
Yeah, yeah, that's been the biggest surprise. I mean, my surgeon said I can go back to mountain biking at 6 weeks, and I said absolutely not.
Yeah.
almost maybe you don't know what I'm doing. If you saw what I was doing, maybe
Yeah.
not. But
Have you ever ridden a mountain bike before,
yeah,
Sergeant?
yeah, right. Yeah, even the smooth trails are still like you still hit stuff and it's like, eh. But I just came back from a mountain biking trip where I rode 4 straight days for 3 hours at a time, and
Wow.
I'm good. I'm doing a lot of like core work. It's like I'm very strict about I have to stretch before and after.
Mhm.
I think that's been a big help too. Getting
Any
core strength.
particular exercise moves that you feel were, particularly helpful or that you focus on now?
Definitely do the bird dogs. Bird
Mhm.
dogs. Doing a lot of kind of like open books. I think kind of helps open up the rest of my back.
Mhm.
What else do I do? I've been getting a little bit of like hip weirdness,
Mhm.
which is fairly common from what I could tell. So I do some hip stretching, like
Yeah.
moving my legs back and forth while keeping my spine neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah, but bird dogs have definitely been helpful for strengthening the core.
I have the unfortunate habit of being someone who's like, "Oh, I'm better now," and stop doing,
Yeah.
the exercise or whatever, and when I do that, I actually start to get pain in both my hips, especially on
Mhm.
long walks. So then
Yeah.
I have to, remind myself, "So you gotta keep doing the hip exercises on top of, all the
Yeah.
other things." Yeah.
Absolutely.
And did
That
you say
was
you're
exactly.
weightlifting again?
Yeah. Yeah. So with the PT, we started adding kind of some lifting over time from like, I think weeks 8 through 10, we started adding some twisting too. So I've kind of it's been a lot of continuing what they were working on. They gave me a home exercise program, and I've added a core day to my lifting along with the normal, chest day, and I have a leg day, which is a little bit different now. No squatting, no deadlifting. Probably never will. But we do have like it's a belt squat, so it sits on your at your hips instead of on your back. So no pressure on the spine, but I could still do a version of a squat that doesn't cause any pain.
Okay, and did they limit how much weight you should lift overhead?
None that I was conveyed to me. Aren't I'm still not really pushing anything in the gym.
Sure.
Maybe
Yeah.
next year, start, but so far so good. It's kind of working
Okay.
out. Yeah.
Great. Now, Matt, are you the one who, will post a story from an athlete about their herniated disc experience? Is that you?
I don't think so. I think I saw that thread. I don't think
Oh,
I.
okay. Somebody's
Yeah.
come on and posted, like, "Here's this golfer, and here's this mountain biker, and here's
Oh, that
this."
is me actually. Yeah,
That
yeah,
is you.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I love those stories. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was in early recovery when I was just doing a ton of research. I was looking up all the different athletes like Rob Gronkowski. We just had a mountain biker at it. Who's the stuff he's doing? I'm very curious to see how he bounces back from surgery because we're talking like he's dropping off 50-foot cliffs,
Oh,
legitimately.
wow.
So a little bit
Since
different.
his surgery?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wish him the best, and I hope he recovers as well
Yeah.
as I did.
I followed your link for one. I think you put a he was a golfer,
Yep.
and I reached out to them to be on my podcast, but they never got back to me.
Nah.
I'm too small yet.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe after the season, they should be winding down. Maybe they'll have a little more time.
Yeah. So for people who are on the community or just on the YouTube page, what
Mhm.
would you have to say to them or who's just starting with the herniated disc
Um,
experience?
be patient. Give yourself more time to recover than you think. Like when I would feel better in the initial herniation, even before surgery, I'd kind of forget. Like I'd do my home exercise stretches, and then I'd feel better, and then repeat the process. Just keep working on your core strength if you can. Do what you can. Do what doesn't hurt. If like walking was making me hurt, but I was pushing through it because that's the McGill method. You walk, but it wasn't helping me. So it's kind of do what doesn't hurt, and then build from there. Definitely, I even though I think surgery was the best thing I've ever done, don't rush into surgery. do surgery when it makes sense. Do surgery when it's the option that will help you best.
And what's your go-to spot for mountain biking?
So in New Jersey, we do have quite a bit of spots, but my favorite is always going to be Vermont. It's so
Oh,
beautiful up there. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's a little
Nice.
smoother too, actually.
Oh,
Less
is it?
rocks. Yeah, less rocks up there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, right. Feels backwards, but
Yeah. Well, that's great. Matt, I'm so glad to hear that you're doing so well and slowly getting back into your hobbies. I'm sure people will just appreciate seeing that you can
yeah,
get past this.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I'm so grateful. It's given me my life back. It was a rough few months, and
Mhm.
I'm sure I'm not alone with a positive story, which, on the forums, the Facebook groups, it's even now, like when I first was in these groups, the early recovery, that's all I was doing. I was home. I was just in the groups. Even though I was having a good recovery, I was posting about it. But now it's like 7 months out. It's kind of like I try to pop back in. I try to give a voice of positive recovery, but it's tough. Yeah, I commend you for running all this because it's great. Everyone should see the variety of outcomes that the surgery can do. Yeah,
Well, I appreciate you commenting, even if it's a little bit in the community,
yeah,
they love to see the recovery.
absolutely. Yeah,
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to meet you.
yeah. Thank you for having me. It was nice to talk recovery again. It's been a while.
If you are a listener and you have a positive story of recovery from a serious neck or back injury, head over to bedbackbeyond.com and click share your story. I would love to include your voice on the show. Matt, once again, good luck in the rest of your healing, and I'm
Thank you.
sure you'll get back to golfing.
I hope so. Maybe.
Yeah. Bye bye.